My friends, let us go to Garden House. Madam Speaker, I rise today to peel back the layer of absolute hypocrisy that has cloaked the opposition's political rhetoric for far too long. In recent times, the members opposite have attempted to cast themselves as the pristine guardians of integrity. They run to the media, weaponize statutory boards, and launch an eternal crusade of character assassination against Prime Minister Andrew Holness. They desperately try to paint this disciplined, transparent administration as corrupt. But, Madam Speaker, the Jamaican people have a saying: if you live in a glass house, don't throw stones. When you look past the opposition's noisy press conferences and peer into their actual history in government, you do not see a record of public service. What you see is a horror movie. You see a dark, uninterrupted timeline of financial wreckage, vanished public funds, and systemic greed. Today, we are going to shine the blinding light of truth on that history under a single undeniable title: The Night That Never Ends. We are going to remind Jamaica of the multi-billion-dollar scandals that took place under their watch. Scandals that directly emptied the pockets of the working class. Madam Speaker, history records that after Hurricane Gilbert devastated Jamaica in 1988, the Jamaica Labour Party administration left behind $400 million worth of corrugated zinc sheets and emergency relief supplies, precisely surveyed and audited to rebuild the roofs of poor Jamaicans. But a general election occurred, and the incoming People's National Party administration took control of those disaster supplies. What did they do? They completely abandoned the official nonpartisan relief lists. They were licking their political lips. It was a chance for them to reward their supporters for voting them back into office. Instead of distributing materials based on human suffering, partisan actors corruptly hijacked the emergency zinc. Massive stockpiles were diverted directly into political strongholds and the private yards of party cronies. They hijacked the disaster relief. They locked up the zinc in partisan yards while poor vulnerable citizens were sleeping under open skies. Their cronies were using state funded zinc to build fences around their private properties. That was the Hurricane Gilbert zinc scandal, the first chilling chapter in a night that never ends. Madam Speaker, as the night grew darker, they turned their eyes toward the financial institutions of our nation. Let us talk about the catastrophic FINSAC collapse of the 1990s. Through reckless economic mismanagement and high interest rate policies, the opposition administration triggered a systemic financial meltdown. They created an artificial economic storm that wiped out over 40,000 local businesses overnight. For the average Jamaican, FinSac wasn't an abstract financial term. It was a tragedy that walked through their front door. It was the local shopkeeper losing their entire life savings. It was families losing their homes, farmers losing their lands, and hardworking entrepreneurs driven into early graves by stress and bankruptcy. They completely incinerated the indigenous Jamaican business class, and the taxpayers are still paying for that multi-billion-dollar disaster to this very day. Madam Speaker, the nightmare continued into our public utilities. Let us look at the infamous Shell Iron Bridge scandal, where millions of dollars meant to upgrade our energy infrastructure vanish into thin air through inflated contracts and backroom deals. And if that wasn't enough, they moved to our national oil refinery and gave us the Petrodram scandal. We watched as millions of dollars of public funds were spent on lavish birthday parties, unvetted consultancy contracts, and massive quantities of oil that mysteriously vanished from the refinery unaccounted for. Simply for the person at the bus stop, while you were struggling to find bus fare, and while taxi drivers were struggling to pay for gas at the pump, the opposition administration was treating our national oil refinery like a private ATM for party insiders and high society galas. But the absolute lowest point of this never ending night occurred when they targeted the funds meant for the most vulnerable. Let us remind the nation of the National Solid Waste Management Authority, NSWMA, scandal, where millions of dollars meant to clean our streets and manage municipal hygiene disappeared into a lawless web of unvetted, unregistered trucking contracts and ghost workers. Let us remind them of the NetSurf scandal, where millions in public funds meant to create digital jobs for inner city youth were handed over to politically connected shell companies that folded overnight without delivering a single job. And let us never forget the Trafigura scandal, where a foreign multinational oil trading corporation dumped a massive secret $31 million cash donation directly into a private bank account belonging to a high ranking official of their party while they were actively negotiating commercial state contracts. When a political party accepts secret millions from a foreign entity doing business with the Jamaican state, that is not governance. That is a complete sellout of national sovereignty. Madam Speaker, time will not allow me to elaborate on the many more acts of corruption that fleeced this country's resources under the People's National Party. Many Jamaicans still remember the Cuban light bulb scandal in 2007, the furniture scandal of 1991, the shell waiver scandal of 1991, the Operation Pride scandal in 2002. Madam Speaker, look at the unbridgeable gulf between the night of chaos and the daybreak of the Andrew Holness led administration. They call this government corrupt. Yet, under the strict, unwavering fiscal discipline of Prime Minister Andrew Holness, not a single thread of evidence exists to show that he has ever used 1 cent of public funds for personal enrichment. Not $1, not 1 cent. Instead of FINSAC collapses, we have achieved the lowest unemployment rate in Jamaica history and recorded low debt burdens. Instead of stealing zinc from storm victims, we passed the NARA Act to create a transparent, audited statutory engine for rapid disaster recovery. Instead of siphoning public funds, our economic management has earned historic debt-free payouts of 150 million US from the World Bank to rebuild our communities, alongside a massive 40 billion Spark program that splits funding equally across every single constituency to pave local roads. Madam Speaker, who cut down the shame tree at 89 Old Hope Road? To have taken Jamaica through such a dark and ending night, it takes a level of shamelessness to accuse this government of corruption. It would be funny if it was not so putridly repulsive. How much gall does it take to be constantly pointing the accusing finger at others for things you have mastered and refined? The opposition party has patented corruption. Their nightmare lasted 18 and a half years and we are still haunted by the ghosts of those years. The opposition wants us to keep Jamaica trapped in the dark. They use character assassination, media circus walkouts, and personal attacks against you, Madam Speaker, because they are trying to manufacture a smokescreen. They want you to look at the manufactured cloud so you don't look back at their unassailable mountain of historical corruption. They are standing in the kitchen of public opinion, banging empty pots and pans loudly, hoping the public won't notice that their entire policy plate is empty and their historical hands are stained with the zinc scandal, FINSAC, and Trafigura cash. Jamaica has sacrificed too much to turn back to the dark. We have escaped the nightmare. We have the master builder at work. We have a proven captain at the wheel. And under the leadership of Prime Minister Andrew Holness, we are keeping the lights on and moving Jamaica steadily, cleanly, and powerfully forward. I thank you, Madam Speaker, and I thank you all for watching this video. Please like, share, and follow. Walk good.